If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and another tutorial. Today I am super happy to be sewing along with you the Deuce Coupe double zip wallet, a Pin It Up Patterns pattern. As you all know, Pin It Up Patterns is a collaboration between myself and Anna of Galaxy Customs. We have formed this pattern writing company together. We make a great team and we really do hope you like our newest design, which is this one, depending when you're watching it, of course. Okay. Let me give you an idea of what this bag is all about, or this wallet is all about. So this is a build your own double zip wallet type of idea. It is domestic machine friendly, again, as long as you're smart with your fabric choices, which we will talk about here momentarily. So let me show you the original. So this is the one that I have made in this tutorial. This one has all of the bells and whistles. As you can see, it has a wristlet. You can either hook it onto zipper pulls that have holes in them if you wanted to, or you could apply a corset ring on the other side for your wristlet. If it's attached to the zipper pulls, you can open it with one swoop. On the front side, you have a section, flops down flat, and it has 5 card slots, one of them being an ID window, a slip pocket behind those, and a slip pocket for your money. This fits a Canadian bill perfectly. I'm pretty sure all money is somewhat the same size, but it fits there perfectly. On the opposite side here, we have a gusseted coin purse with 2 large slip pocket type sections. That's hard. Slip pocket type sections. Say that 10 times fast. On either side, and a generous coin purse. Now, when I say build your own, so you can see there's a gusset here, there is a gusset here. This may be a little bit tricky on a domestic or heavy duty machine, depending on the materials you choose, of course. So in the pattern, we have domestic friendly tips and tricks that you can use with this. You would definitely want to be making the exterior and the lining with thin vinyls or cottons. This one here I actually did with a vinyl on the inside. So this is Luxxe faux leather vinyl from from Emmeline Bags, and my exterior is the Luxxe Vinyl from Galaxy Customs. So again, even on a domestic or on an industrial machine, I made sure I was using relatively thin vinyls for my linings. Now, if you're on a domestic machine, I definitely would not recommend that your lining panels here you do in cottons, not in faux leather, because you will cry. It does get super thick on these sides when using thicker material. So make sure you read through the pattern, you see what all of our tips and tricks are about picking the fabrics that will work for you if you're on a domestic to a heavy duty machine. Now, talking about making things with a little less thicknesses. So this is another version here. So one thing about the Deuce Coupe is you can, all those panels that are in there, you can mix around in here and make a perfect to you wallet, or a wallet that maybe might be a little bit easier on your machine. This is a prime example. So this would be the most domestic friendly version there is, because we have eliminated the gussets and all that. It is not written in the pattern to do that. You would just do the card slot section 4 times for this one, and this is what I mean. So this one is made so it flops flat on both sides, and it has 20 card slots. Isn't that amazing? 20 card slots. So we have eliminated the slip pocket on this side and replaced it with card slots. But you know what? You've got slip pockets between all of these. So that is 20 card slots and 4 slip pockets. On this side, we have taken away the coin purse and again put in more card slots. So again, 20 and 4. That holds a lot of cards in this. It doesn't have the coin pocket, but do you know what? I don't ever carry any change, so this could be the perfect one for you. What's nice about it is when you go to top stitch this, you are not top stitching through any gussets all the way around here, and you will see as we go along. So that's one version. So now if you wanted the coin purse, but you still wanted to reduce some of the bulk, I have another version here for you, which is this one. So when you open up the front, what this one has is 2 card slots, one of them with an ID one with the 2 slip pockets. Of course, we just left out, which one is it? This side here, which originally was the money slip pocket, but you can definitely put your money in there. And then on this other side, we have the gusseted coin wallet. So see what I mean by build your own? You can make this, or if you're making this for somebody else, you can make it the perfect wallet, and you can make it totally friendly with whatever sewing machine you are sewing it on. Now, talking about this, you do so through 1, 2 at the hardest point. No, all of them. 2 layers of Decovil Heavy or Craftex. And you'll see what I mean when you read it. Make sure you check out the pattern for the tips and tricks for domestic machine sewing. We have worked really hard on that to try to overcome some thicknesses and make this domestic friendly the best we can. We did have a tester do it on a Juki 2010Q, and she was able to do it. This version here with the flop downs was definitely the easiest one for her to do, so because she didn't have to go through those thicknesses. So you can all do a double zip wallet regardless of what machine you're on. All right, so let's talk about fabrics. All my exterior fabrics of these are all Luxxes from Galaxy Customs. So this one is the Leopard Luxxe. This one is, I want to say it's the Aruba C Luxxe. And this one is actually the Deluxe line, and it's called Olive Oil. In this one, I did my lining. I actually did my lining in this one with the faux leather. As I said, I wouldn't recommend that for a domestic machine. It does get really thick, but I used the Rex faux leather from Emmeline Bags for this. This one I did, I used the Luxxe for my card slots, but I used cotton for the backings of everything. And what did I do in this one? This one I used, yes, Luxxe again, and I used cotton for my main lining. Now, you'll have to make sure you read the pattern very carefully because there are raw edges in this pattern, and the reason there are raw edges in the pattern in certain things, such as this is an example. The bottom, or you can see here on the inside here, those are all raw edges there, as well as the bottom of those gussets are raw edges. And the reason we did that is so we don't have those thick seams that may make it hard to sew through. We tried to minimize as much bulk as we possibly could. I think we were fairly successful. So definitely read the cut chart and read the pattern before cutting anything out, because there are certain pieces in here that cannot be a fraying fabric. So examples of, you can't have any of your gusset pieces being a fraying fabric. So for the lining side here, I use a waterproof canvas. That is actually, you can see there, that's a waterproof canvas in there, and that is non-fraying. So yeah, the gussets, you need to use a non-fraying. The slip pockets, you need to use a non-fraying. The card slots, you need to use a non-fraying. And again, that is so we don't get those thick seams of having to enclose those seams. So you'd use a light waterproof canvas or a light vinyl or what have you for those. Now for the exterior and the main lining, you can use fraying to your heart's content, but keep in mind the thicknesses of what you're choosing and what your machine sensitivities are. This can be made by anybody as long as you're very smart with the materials you choose. I am on an industrial, so I can pretty much choose anything. My machine, my Titan, will just sew through anything. Okay, so other things to talk about, again, interfacing is a Decovil Heavy. If you have cotton pieces, of course, you would back them with a light woven interfacing like SF101 or EB Fuse Lite. We do talk about foam or fleece in here, so that's what gives it this little squish in here. It's nice. And this is the foam that we're talking about in the pattern. This is, if you buy any electronics or what have you, this is always what your electronics is wrapped in. So this, or it's also called dish packing foam. In the pattern, we have given you a link to where you could buy this on Amazon. I bought a huge roll of that, which is going to last me a lifetime for $19 Canadian. It is super cheap. But again, you'd have to use an adhesive or double-sided tape to put it on. But once it is on, and once we get those top stitching done, it does hold it in place. Okay, so that's the foam. If you don't use this, you can use a fusible fleece, as long as it's not too high loft. You want to make sure it's a low loft because you just want it to have a little bit of squish, but you don't want to create too much bulk and too much thickness. What else? Again, for the main stabilizer, it's a Decovil Heavy. If you like, you can also use Craftex. Again, you would have to fuse or tape or glue that on, I believe. I don't think that's fusible Craftex. There is a lot of double-sided tape in here, but we tell you where you can substitute in glue, such as a fabric tack if you are on a domestic machine or a heavy-duty machine. Now, when I used to make wallets on my Juki 2010Q, when I used to sew on my heavy-duty machine, I would use the fabric tack rather than the double-sided tape to stick my panels together for sewing. But you do have to let it dry before you sew, or else it'll kind of make a huge mess and it will gum up your needle. So just keep in mind that you could glue where some of the double-sided tape is, and we do tell you in the pattern where you could substitute that in. Now, there are some areas where you need to use a double-sided tape. So if you're on a double-sided tape sensitive machine, I do recommend using Dritz Wash Away Wonder Tape, and that should help it a lot. I know there's many domestic tips out there. This can totally be done on it. It's just using different things. So in this video, I do use double-sided tape, but know that you can substitute in glue in those places to make it so your needle doesn't get gummed up. What else? I think that is it. Use a denim needle if you can on your heavy duty or domestic machines, just to help get through those layers. Hand crank if you need to, but again, depending on the version you do, there may be absolutely no issues with it. Just make sure you test and make sure before you get too far in what your machine can handle. In this tutorial, I am doing it on my industrial machine, and again, we did have testers do it on did I say I'm on an industrial? I said I was on an industrial machine, right? Yeah. We had testers do it on a domestic machine as well. So I really do hope you enjoy this tutorial. Again, all my hardware is from M-Line bags. My zippers and zipper pulls are from, some are from M-Line bags, some are from Blue Cala. Again, all Canadian products right here, and a Canadian design pattern. Yay! Anyways, enough about all that. I think I have said everything. How about we get to making this bag?
You're going to need some optional rivets, number 5 zipper tape, number 3 zipper tape, 2 number 5 zipper pulls, a number 3 zipper pull, a swivel clasp, and an optional corset ring. You're going to need your main exterior piece, your interfacing the foam or the fleece piece, 2 main lining pieces, 6 stabilizer pieces, your ID window pieces, 5 card slot top pieces, a card slot backing piece, 4 card slot lining pieces, 2 card slot edging pieces, your slip pocket main and lining pieces, your coin purse lining piece, your coin purse exterior piece, your main and lining gusset pieces, and lastly, your wristlet piece. Now, I've already gone ahead and marked my lines as per the pattern around all 4 edges of our main exterior wrong side. We're going to take our packing foam, or if you're using fleece, you can definitely go ahead and fuse this onto the back in between those lines that we drew. My foam is not fusible, so I'm going to use double-sided tape for now to hold this in place until our stitching will hold it in place 100%. So go ahead and center that on and stick or fuse that down. Now we're going to take 2 of our main stabilizer pieces, and we're also going to line them up in between those markings that we made onto the top and bottom of this and fuse those in place, being sure not to fuse your foam there just in case it melts against your machine. So that is done. I'm going to do the exact same thing with my 2 lining panels as well, making sure I measure in as per the pattern measurements for my placement of my stabilizer. Okay, so now we're going to work on our wristlet. So I've already drawn my center line and marked in from the short edges as per the pattern measurements. I'm going to put some double-sided tape down the center of this in between those 2 lines that we drew on the short sides. I'm going to kind of fold this wrong size together and slip my swivel clasp on like so. Then bring the 2 short edges right sides together. And I'm going to sew across those lines as marked before. So that is done. Now I'm going to pull away my tape here and I'm going to open up my seam that we had just sewn and stick that down with the double-sided tape. I'm going to take just a little bit of double-sided tape here and just put it over top of that seam. And then we're going to go ahead and pull away the tape and we are going to bring our long sides into that center line. We are working in a loop, just work your way around and moving that swivel clasp out of the way as we go. Once we have both sides to the center, we're going to go ahead and we are going to top stitch all the way around here with the seam allowance stated in the pattern. Now you will see we are working in a loop. It's not hard to do at all. Just as you're working your way around, make sure you are moving that swivel clasp out of the way as you go. As you can see, this is why we use a non-fraying fabric with this, as we do have some raw edges upon the inside. You're going to pull your swivel clasp up like so, so the seam that we had sewn is about 1.25 inches or so away from the swivel clasp. And then we're going to punch a hole and place a rivet, and that is going to complete our wristlet. So this is our wristlet complete. She looks amazing and seamless. Okay, so now you're going to take your main zipper tape, make sure they are definitely the same length. On the wrong side from each short end, you're going to measure in 1 inch with a pen that will not disappear, as we're going to need those marks to put our zipper pull on straight later on. You're also going to go ahead and you are going to mark the center of your zipper tape within the seam allowance on both sides. You can then go ahead and pull your zipper tape apart and do the same with the opposite one. Okay, now we have our main exterior panel piece here. We're going to use our pattern piece here to mark the 8 marks on the pattern piece with a pen that you can erase. You'll want to do this on the top and the bottom of this exterior piece. Now when drawing these lines, make sure that they extend into the exterior by 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch, so as we're sewing the zipper on, we will be able to see them from the right side. Now for this next step, I'm going to use double-sided tape, but if your machine is sensitive to that, make sure you could go ahead and use some fabric tack glue. You're just going to make sure that you let that glue dry 100% before sewing through it. Now using the stabilizer as my guide, I'm going to go ahead and put some double-sided tape along the perimeter of the stabilizer. And then I'm going to go into my corners and I'm going to cut little 1/8 of an inch snips. Then what we're going to do is on the 4 long sides, we're going to go ahead and we're going to fold them down and around that using that stabilizer as a guide. And then where we made those little snips, you're going to go ahead and fold them into the center. Now, what you could do here is you want to kind of do like little V's in those corners. Pull the center of those V's down and then the sides, and that'll help you get a nice and seamless quarter. Once you have that raw edge all the way around, you're going to just top stitch in between the two marks on the center, like so. So I'm going to start here pulling my threads long to tie off in the back, and so from one to the next mark, like so, on both sides. Again, pulling my threads long to tie off in the back. If you do not tie your threads off in the back, make sure you backstitch well at the start and the stop. Okay, so once that is done, again, you can use glue. I'm going to use tape, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put some tape just along in between from the untop stitch areas that we've done, kind of up and around here. I'm lining my 1/4 inch tape up with the bottom of the 1/4 inch seam that we have folded over, just using that as a guide to where I'm going to lay my tape down. From line to line, like so. I'm going to do the same on the opposite side. No tape in the center marks. I'm going to pull the paper backing off of my tape, and then I have my zipper, and I have my zipper wrong side up and my exterior piece wrong side up. I'm going to match up that top center like so, and I'm going to ease my tape around, sticking it down to the tape just like this. So in the corner, you kind of just pinch it, and then you just kind of pop it over to make sure you have no nips or tucks hiding in there. Take your time doing this to get a nice and seamless zipper. Sometimes it takes a couple times to go around that corner to make sure you get it nice and even, but you want to make sure that the zipper pull is going to be able to get around those corners without getting stuck. Take your time. You can do this. Do the same with the opposite side, which I have done here. I'm just going to double check my corners to make sure my tape looks good and I have clearance. And then we're going to start again where our top stitching ended and began for those center sections that we did, and we are going to top stitch the zipper in place. So I'm changing into my left zipper foot here. This is going to help us get nice and close to the zipper tape and the edge and give us a nice and straight top stitch. So again, I'm going to pull my threads long, and I'm going to go around, start putting my needle down in that last stitch that we did this side top stitching with, and then work my way around. You are going to see me doing hand cranks around those corners. That is just, I find, gives me a little more control around those corners to get a nice and perfect top stitch. So you're going to go from one side to the other side. You're going to break your thread and then hop on over to the other side of those where we had finished our top stitching on the opposite side and do the exact same thing. Now make sure you are not catching your zipper tails in your stitching. So make sure you're very aware of where those zipper tails are, as we need those to remain free and clear to put our zipper pulls on later on. So I've already gone ahead and I've put my nameplate here 1 inch down, centered from the top. My tails are free and clear. and I have plenty of clearance around those corners for my zipper pulls. Now, if you're going to go ahead and put the corset ring on, that's where you want to do it here, nice and centered from the right hand side. And I have riveted that on. Okay, now we're going to work on our lining panels, and we're going to do this in a very almost similar fashion to the exterior, except for I'm taking my tape and I'm putting it around the exterior of each side rather than along the interfacing. So you're going to want to do this around the whole thing, including the little curvy sections. Now this is very, very important that you get these down nice and neat, especially if you are using cotton here, because this is what's going to hold those raw edges away. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull off the paper of my backing. Again, you could use glue here, just make sure that you dry it. I'm going to go into just before the corners and do a little bit of an 1/8 inch snip like so, where all my corners are. And then those straight edges, we're going to go ahead and we're going to fold those down and around the stabilizer like so. Do not do the corners just yet. I'm going to show you how we go in with our little V-shaped things to help get these corners nice and flat. So all the flat edges here, those little slits that we just did, will help make that easy. Now on these corners, again, you're going to go ahead and you're going to do little V's. Now you don't want to go too deep into these V's, just enough that we can curve these down and around. So just like so. And then you're going to take that middle section of that V and pull it down first, and then bring the two side sections down like this. And that's going to make a nice and perfect rounded corner like so. Go ahead and do that with all 4 corners. Now in these little curvy indents here, I'm just doing little 1/8 of an inch snips so I can fold that fabric over like so, so we get a nice and curvy center section like so. You may need to use a little more glue and double-sided tape to hold those in place. Make sure they all look good and seamless around those corners and set those aside. Now we're going to take our lining slip pocket pieces. We're going to put them right sides together. We're going to clip along that top, just the top. And then we're going to sew across here with the seam allowance stated in the pattern. And that is done. Go ahead and trim up that seam allowance with some pinking shears. And then turn this wrong sides together, finger pressing that seam nice and tight and holding with clips to prepare for top stitching. I'm going to go ahead and we are going to top stitch along there. Now this piece does have raw edges, so do not use cotton for this. From the left and right sizes, you're going to measure in 1 inch, and then you're going to fold along that line, wrong sides together, hold with clips, and then we're going to go ahead and we are going to top stitch these. And this is going to create our slip pocket gusset. Once that is done, that's what that looks like. I've marked the center of the wrong side of my lining slip pocket piece. I have one of my lining pieces like so, and in from the left-hand side with our curvy indents up and down, I marked a line as per the pattern measurements, as well as a center line, lined it up and stitched that in place. Now on the wrong side of our gussets here, I'm putting some double-sided tape, and then we're going to bring the bottom of that gusset up until that line that we had previously marked and lined up to sew the bottom part on. And we're going to stick or clip that down nice and even with the sides, like so for both sides. We're not going to stitch these in place just yet. We're just going to hold them there right now with the double-sided tape or clips. Or both, as I'm doing here. Okay, now we can set this aside for now. Now we're going to work on our card slot top. So you're going to measure down from each of the tops as per the pattern, and draw a line on the wrong side. I'm going to take some double-sided tape here and put them on the top and bottom of that line that we just drew. Next, we're going to take the paper backing off of that bottom piece, like so. And we're going to take our card slot backing piece, and we are going to put this right side up along the wrong side here. So the right side of your card slot backing piece should be facing you. You're going to fold over that top where we drew that line and fold it over the raw edge of our piece here. And then we're going to go ahead and flip it over and top stitch through the bottom of our card slot top piece. You're going to go ahead and do the same thing with the other 4 card slot pieces, except for this time they are going to be right sides down against that line. Going to fold over that top once again, and then top stitch through the bottom part here on the right side. You can go ahead and you can also top stitch the top of those, which I have done. Now you're going to measure down from the top of each of these as per the measurements in the pattern, just like so for all 4. Now we're going to work on our ID slot. So on our main ID slot here, you're going to measure down as per the pattern measurements and draw a line on the wrong side and on the bottom. We're going to take some double-sided tape and put it along the top edge like so, above that line. Take the tape off and fold it down, wrong sides together at that top line. Go ahead and top stitch across there, which I have done. Now we're going to take our clear window and we're going to put some double-sided tape or glue along the top as well as the bottom. And then we are going to stick this on the wrong side of the ID window, nice and centered. Stick it down in place. Then we're going to take this to the machine and we're going to top stitch that ID window in place along the square opening. So this is where we're at here. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to take our card slot, the one with the backing on it, and we're going to put some double-sided tape down each of the long sides on the right side. Next, we are going to go ahead and take one of our card slot tops with the lining piece on it, and we are going to nest the top of this right up where the T's are, like right where our T cutouts are, making sure it's nice and evenly apart and straight. You want to make sure that this is nice and straight. Nest it up like so. And then we're going to go ahead and sew through that line that we had drawn on the lining piece. So that's what that looks like. I'm going to double check that a card fits in there good. You're going to go ahead and do the same with the other 3 card slots, sticking it down, drawing through that line that we marked on the lining piece, again making sure they're nice and straight and evenly spaced. So that is them all done. Again, I'm going to just double check that my cards fit in there good. And then we're going to take our ID card slot, the top part, and we are going to once again nest it right up against those T's, stick it down, make sure it's nice and straight. And then we're going to put some double-sided tape on the wrong side at that line that we had drawn and fold the bottom of the card slot ID piece up and over that last lining piece like so. Do not top stitch this just yet. Now we're going to take our edging pieces. I've already drawn my center line. I'm going to put some double-sided tape above and below this line. I'm going to take the right hand side along edge of my card slots, and I'm going to line it up nice and even against that center line like so. And then I'm going to fold over the other side over to the right side like so, making sure that it is nice and even with the side we have folded over on the opposite side, so we can catch both sides with our top stitching. You can trim these up if they're a little bit long, and then go ahead and top stitch right along here with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So that is complete. Everything is caught on the other side. You're going to do the same with the left hand side, but we are not going to top stitch this just yet. So that is complete. Along that untop stitch side on the wrong side of our card slots, I'm going to put some double-sided tape here. I've measured in as per the pattern measurements on the left hand side of the lining piece, the opposite to the slip pocket. You're going to also mark up from the bottom like so and the top like so. Measurements are in the pattern. And then you're going to line this up with the left hand side going to the left in between those marks. Then you're going to top stitch across here, down here, and across here, which will create our card slots in place as well as that slip pocket. And that is one side of our wallet lining pieces complete. Again, double checking all my cards fit, and they do. Then you can set that aside for now. Okay, so now we're going to work on our gusseted side. So we're going to take our 2 exterior gussets, and from the bottoms and the tops, we're going to mark in as per the pattern measurements. Again, this is another piece where you have to use a non-fraying fabric, as there is a raw edge along the bottom. Along the top parts of this, we're going to do double-sided tape above and below that line that we had just drawn, as well as on the bottom, just below the line we had just drawn. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, take off that bottom tape. We're going to take our lining piece right side up. So we're putting these wrong sides together, stick it down. And then along the bottom piece here, we're going to just stick it down like so. You're going to pull the tape over to the wrong side along the top and top stitch the top and the bottom pieces, which I have done. Now you have your lining piece lined up with the little cutouts on the sides going left to right. We are going to, on the top part here, measure down as per the pattern measurements, put some double-sided tape along the wrong side of our gusset pieces, along the short sides. And with one side of this, we're just going to stick it right where that line is, lining it up with our lining piece like so. Do the same with the opposite side. Now it's optional, you can go ahead and baste this in place if you like, but I'm just going to leave it unbasted, just using my tape there, so I have a nice seamless later on. So here we go. We want to go ahead and we want to mark as we did before, and we are going to go ahead and we are just going to top stitch in those center areas from mark to mark. Now on the wrong side of this, we are going to do this just as we did with the exterior. We're going to make a line. So we're doing the sides that have the slip pocket as well as the side that has the gusset. These are the sides that we are marking. And these are going to form our center zipper, where our zippers meet. So again, put double-sided tape all along the seam like so, from mark to mark. Again, all marking measurements are in the pattern. Make sure you're reading around to reading the pattern well to get those markings. Now, the thing we're going to do different here, I've already done one side, is we are going to have our zipper tape right side up this time and our lining piece wrong side up. Match up that center, work it around that curve just like before. Again, we're only working with the gusseted side and the slip pocket side. Stick or glue that down in place, making sure you have plenty of clearance around those corners that your zipper pull will be able to get through. Take your time here to get this perfect. It looks good. Now I've gone ahead and I've put some double-sided tape along the top of this. You can again use glue, you just got to make sure you let it dry. And then we're going to take these two lining panels and we are going to stick them wrong sides together just along those top sections. Now you want to make sure they're nice and centered, and you're going to use your sense of feel here to make sure that the two panels on either side are matching up perfectly, because we are going to be top stitching around just this side, making sure we catch both sides. So we've already done our marks on the right side of this, and we are going to be going from mark to mark, top stitching this around this top piece just like so. So make sure the other two sides are pulled away from each other so we have the wrong sides together. We're going to top stitch across here, around here to that other mark. Marking measurements are in the pattern. Now I've changed back into my less zipper foot because this just really helps have a little bit more control, getting a nice and seam allowance around here with that zipper in place. Now that is all done. I got plenty of clearance for my zipper pull and my tails are still free and clear. That is exactly what we want. So now we're going to do the same with the opposite side. We're going to mark in and down as per the pattern measurements here to stick down our other side of our gussets. This is the trickiest part of this. It's not hard. You just have to be very aware of where this gusset is when we go to sew this on to the main exterior. You can definitely go ahead and baste this in place if you like. I'm just going to go ahead and use my glue as my basting here because I just want to have a nice seamless line when I go to stick this in place. Now, just like we did with our other part, or our lining pieces that we just did, we're going to stick the other half of this down to our exterior. Once again, I'm using double-sided tape. You can definitely use glue, just make sure it dries. And we're going to stick this down side to side. Do one side first. For the front side of my wallet, I like my ID pockets to be there. This is the side that will have it flop down nice and flat. I find that best for when you need to get fast access to those cards you use most often. Make sure there's plenty of clearance all the way around. You're feeling to make sure these are nice and even. I'm going to mark down, just make my marks again because they've disappeared. And then we're going to go ahead and top stitch from that mark, 1/4 of an inch seam allowance all the way around there. So you're going right next to that seam allowance that we had previously done here. So you're going to have two wonderful lines of top stitching. So take it nice and slow. You can pull your threads to the back if you like. I just went ahead and back stitched there because I want to make sure this is nice and close, but you can do whatever you like there. Again, I'm hand cranking around those corners, going mark to mark on this first front side. So that is one side done. She looks beautiful. Now we're going to go ahead and we are going to do the exact same thing with the opposite side. And as I was saying, this side is the hardest to do because you have that gusset in the way. So you're going to have to make sure you are not sewing through that center section. You're going to kind of have to manipulate it out of the way. Again, if you are on a free arm or a cylinder arm, this would be super easy to do. I'm going to do this on my flatbed to show you how I do it because I know most people have the flatbed machine and it is completely doable. You just got to make sure, as you see here, you're kind of moving that gusseted section out of the way so you're only sewing through the lining pieces where the gussets join and the zipper tape in the exterior. So where the gusset is kind of folded up, you kind of got to fold the top out of the way so you're just catching that raw edge that we have stuck down to our main lining piece so the gusset will stay in place. This is that complete. Everything that needed to be sewn was sewn. We have plenty of clearance for our zipper pulls. You can go ahead and set that aside for now. All right, so I've already marked down from the top and the bottom as per the pattern measurements, and I've put double-sided tape on all four sides of the wrong side of my exterior coin pocket piece. I'm going to take my lining piece, I'm going to line it up underneath and above the top and bottom lines we've drawn and stick it down wrong sides together. Next, we're going to measure down a 1/2 inch from the top and the bottom, mark it with an erasable pen. And we're going to fold those top edges over the lining pieces to that line, the top edge as well as the bottom edge. Next, we're going to go ahead and we're going to measure on the wrong side of our number 3 zipper tape 1 inch in from the right hand side. Pull your teeth apart like so. And I'm going to take some double-sided tape and put it along the bottom edge, raw edge of where we folded it over. We have our zipper tape right side up as well as our exterior piece right side up. Make sure the lines that we drew on the back are on the right hand side, and we're going to line this up nice and even across our zipper tape like so. Stick it in place. The same with the bottom part. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to top stitch those in place, which I have done. I used that 1 inch line to put my zipper pull on nice and straight. And now we're going to clip these sides together. Again, these want to be nice and even, line up that seam. And then on the sides here, we're going to go ahead and we are going to baste those in place. Again, making sure your zipper is nice and straight and your seams are matching up for a nice and straight zipper. Once that is done, you can go ahead and trim off the excess zipper tape like so, and you have a functioning zipper pocket. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put just some double-sided tape. Oh, you don't have to do this. I just find it helps hold it in place a little bit better on both the short sides, back, and the front. Now you want to position this so when you have the front of the bag up, your zipper is going to the left. I'm going to find the center of our gussets here. I'm just going to kind of line them up, the seams like so, and just mark the center so I know what we're lining this up with. You're going to take your coin pocket piece here. I'm going to take the tape off of one side, and we're going to nestle that right at that center mark of that gusset and kind of fold it together. I will also use clips here. You want to make sure you're catching that whole raw side of the coin pocket within this fold over that we're doing, and just like so, to create our gusset. Once you have that all situated, go ahead and sew that with the seam allowance in the pattern. I'm going to do the same with the opposite side. So you pop your gusset out and you're going to kind of pull your zipper pocket over. Now it is smaller than this, and that's because we need it to kind of pop into the center, not get in the way. So you kind of got to just kind of pull and maneuver it out so you'll be able to sew this in place. Again, making sure that raw edge is completely caught along that center fold of the gusset. And then go and sew that with the seam allowance in the pattern, making sure you're only sewing through that gusset and nothing else. Once that is done, we have everything done. It goes right into the center nicely. Next, you're going to go ahead, put on your 2 zipper pulls from the right hand side, lining up that 1-inch line we drew to make sure that our zipper pulls are nice and straight. You're going to burn the raw edges of our zipper tape just to make sure they will not fray. And then you're going to take some small little pieces of double-sided tape and put them along the first about 3/4 of an inch or so of the wrong side of each side of our zipper tape. And then you're going to fold this wrong sides together over the back side of the teeth. Once you have all that in place, you're going to do the same with the opposite side. So that's both of them done. Working on the side where the teeth are not pulled apart, of course. Kind of open your zipper up, and then what we want to do is you're going to see there's an opening right in here between the lining and the exterior. I like to use a pair of pliers to help feed that in between those layers for both sides. It should go in nice and easy here as we have such a big opening here to maneuver those nice and straight. Now work these so the tape is lying nice and flat, and when you're pleased with it, we can go ahead and do the opposite side. Now I've basted the open side of my zipper closed, and then I did the exact same thing as I did with the other side. Now you're going to go ahead and use a little bit of Fabri-Tac or Gorilla Glue and put it in there in between the layers. That is going to help keep our zipper tape in place. And then you're going to go ahead and you are going to let that dry, and it's going to secure the zippers really, really well. Once your glue is dry, go ahead and check your work. It all looks good. Everything is holding together so well. And you guys, that is pretty much it. My clasp goes on here perfectly. Again, you can put it onto your 2 zipper pulls if they have holes in the zipper pulls to open and close this way. Make sure everything looks good and even. Admire your work, pat yourself on your back, and we're done.
All right, that's it. That's all. What'd you think about that? It's not that hard. It's pretty fast. Again, the thing that'll take the longest is if you're using glue. Of course, you'll have to let that dry, but I promise you, it is 100% worth it to get this amazing double zip wallet. Anyways, I would love to see your Deuce Coupe double zip wallet, so make sure you put them onto the Pin It Up Patterns sewing group. All of that is linked down below. Post it on my Beans Bags sewing group. We'd love to see it there. That's all linked down below. Again, you can buy this at the Galaxy Customs website. Links below. Just go to Galaxy Customs and then click on the drop down for Pin It Up Patterns, and you will see all of our patterns there. Anyways, if you did like this video, please do give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. If you'd like to support my channel further, you can always buy me a copy. That's linked down below in the description. And oh yeah, check out the membership side of the channel in case there's something there that sparked your interest as well. Anyways, until the next one, I'll catch you guys again. Bye.